Wait for the camera. There we go. All right, good morning, everybody. I call to order the regular meeting for the Board of Supervisors for Solterra Resort Community Development District. Today is November 7th, approximately 10 a.m. Take roll call. Yes.
So are we doing roll call? Or no?
Wait, what?
Sorry. Did you say, are we doing roll call?
We're gonna take roll call and then we'll open up for audience comments.
Yeah, jump from there.
To take roll call, supervisors of the board, you have Brian Murch,
Here.
Deborah Heim,
Here.
Bobby Boissard,
Present.
Sumant Neelam,
Here.
Karen Winker.
Here.
All right, and, your district staff, Joe Bullins, general manager, Brian Mendez representing Rosetta, your district manager, members of your council, Savannah Hancock and Meredith Pamela. And Greg Woodcock, our district engineer on the call. We also have members of Yellowstone here and Matt. And members of the audience. Jump into any audience comments, anything that you would like to bring to the attention of the board on items that will be considered. There's a 3-minute allocation per resident. I'm going to take first the individuals in the room, and then I'll open up to the virtual channel. Any public comments? Oh, Jeff Boyle. Jeff.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
I was just curious, we're in our probably prime time from now until the end of January. It's gonna get pretty hectic out here. I was wondering if we would have any kind of relationship with Full County to try and take care of the traffic on Pine Tree Trail. It's gonna be really dangerous. I mean, it's, people are cutting in front of it, out in the media, like, somebody just cut right in front of me and just, come through. If you can get anything done on that, that would handle some of this.
So I had to do that only comment.
Yeah.
I had something to do with it.
No,
So I did speak to Polk County Sheriffs. They are willing to come out if we hire them as option details. However, they're not willing to do traffic enforcement. They're not willing to sit up there and actually there's no place for them to come to safely cause any traffic stop without actually causing any traffic. They said if they see something egregious, obviously they'll act. However, if there's 6 people cutting people off, they're not gonna come out and have a traffic queue all the way back to Harlem Grading. Well, then they said it's only gonna create more disaster and chaos up there, which I mean, I do agree with only having 2 lanes, being formal law enforcement. People look at lights, they see sheriffs, they're distracted and they crash. So I mean, it makes it a little tough, but they're not willing to help us up there unless we hire them as off-duty detailing. That's the only way that they've actually come here and be a presence. And even at that, they're willing to sit there with their little lights on and stuff, deter people, which obviously they're not gonna do that when they're sitting there. But are we gonna spend $65 an hour to have the sheriff sit there with blue lights on?
I know that there have been some suggestions from homeowners and people in the past to petition for some signage as you approach the resort to show a through lane and a turn lane. Is that something that we can work on? It won't solve any problems between now and busy season, but if there was at least some road signage to indicate that the 1 lane is for through traffic and there's 1 left turn lane, maybe that would help a little bit.
That's something I can speak to Jay Jarvis at Traffic Engineering about. They said that they would look into it. I followed up twice with them and their response. So they're not, they say, oh, we'll look into it. I mean, typical government will look into it and we'll get back to you. Actually, Devin, I believe, this year, she was emailing back and forth about the same thing. I brought it to Jay. Jay goes, oh, good idea. We'll look into it, see if we can get DOT approved sign there to make it a legal sign for the left turn in the street. And I have not heard back, so you're gonna have to follow up twice.
So I submitted a rendering of what it would look like because I think we have all agreed to table because of the expense, the idea of moving the gate back to almost, not quite to, but almost to the first intersection. But at the very least, I think that we need to work with our existing gatehouse and create an arch. Not an arch, but a roof line that extends over the two inbound lanes. I think that would serve a couple of purposes. Number one is it would give a better look to the entrance of the community. It's more formidable. People would feel so compelled to run all over people and zigzag across the lanes. But also there's a place for signage up at the top of the roof line. I don't know if we can take that image. Do you have that image on file? If we can put it up on the screen so people can see it. And it would also provide shade. I know a lot of people have been complaining about when they drive up and the door is closed and it doesn't look like anybody is there. But we've had that air conditioner break down so many times and it's very expensive to replace because during the heat of the summer and they've got that door open, it's working way too hard. And so that's one thing that the shade created by that overhang would make it so that they could open up that door. And also when we get that sideways rain, it's bad for our guests and it's also bad for the guards at the gate. So that I think would mitigate the need because we have a place for clear signage.
Karen, I agree, that's great, but that just stop people from cutting in front of other people from the traffic light. And that was the whole point of the last comment, so. I think it would. Don't know that there's anything we can do to help mitigate that, Jeff.
I think it would.
People just need to decide if they're gonna do the right thing or the wrong thing, and they're gonna act accordingly, and hopefully that there doesn't end up being any collateral damage as a result of that.
We had a really bad accident up there. Somebody telling me about that. The people have.
We can't stream on the TV. I'll just pass this around really quickly. This is the. Otherwise.
Yeah,
Well,
it looks very nice, I agree.
the visual of what's in front there is driving the upper plan.
Thank you. Up in the audience.
Yeah.
Great to see you.
What it was look like.
That's a good idea.
That right.
That's good. It would allow visiting residents.
Okay.
Fines.
All right, good responses, working on it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the arts are here, I think it brings static to the community, but unfortunately, it doesn't fix our traffic, and we're looking to move that gatehouse eventually. All we're doing is investing more money in our current infrastructure that we're looking to eventually anyways. I think when you rebuild it, it should definitely have arcs, as you showed, that if we come up with the funds and we can save up enough money to actually rebuild that gatehouse further down the first street, I think the arc would be a great idea. But I think adding anyone to the current infrastructure is expending money that we don't need to.
It can't hurt for us to find out how much it would cost.
Absolutely. If the
And it may be years, if ever, that we decide to put that money forward, and we need to do something.
we've been talking, this is Savannah's going to update you all, but we have been in significant discussions with your bond council. One of the requests from Supervisor Nealon was to ask them how much capacity you have to issue new bonds, and there's about what, 1 million.
There's a
Left
decent
in
amount
new
of
issue that the board has capacity that's already been validated and not issued. So that would be something that you could consider as a funding source if you wanted to issue a new set of bonds to fund that project, because it will be a major infrastructure.
we have capacity for
Which is
tax.
Good to know, but at the same time, we had huge community outrage for an increase of assessments of $400 now, so.
There are a lot of considerations, of course, but we just wanted to let you all know that bond council did confirm that capacity exists in your validated bonds.
So Jeff, we are working on.
I talked with you, Jeff, to be able to solve this problem, there's a bunch of things that need to happen, and I think we are setting up the dominoes to get the cafe in place, revenue. There's a bunch of things that are happening that can ultimately, I believe, lead to the solution of the front gate, whether it's a building, extended lanes, extra entryways, moving, all of that is now within our sights of a potential future where it wasn't 6 months ago, where it seemed a long ways away. The only option would be all residents get an extra bill. Now we've got some solutions that can help us work towards that. So we're not there yet, but we're on it.
That's right.
More concerned about the safety issue happening right now. If the sheriff's not gonna work with.
And we'll keep reaching out, we'll keep working with them. It's just, squeaky wheel gets the wheel type deal. Thank you for those comments. Any other audience comments? Gonna turn it over to the virtual, anybody online have anything you'd like to address to the board? All right, hearing none, gonna go ahead and move forward to general manager updates. You have, item 1, holiday season updates with Ms. Pine. Anything because I know we're working on that big event coming up, in the community. Is there anything that you would like to discuss with the board?
Where's Deanna? She's doing most of the planning on that, and her and I kind of threw some ideas around initially in response to some homeowners' request for a holiday event, and so we tossed some ideas back and forth, and she was on board, and so, the beginning parts of that were, let's do a event up here where we can do a cookie exchange if you want to exchange cookies, or if you don't want to bring any, you still can take some home with you, set up a hot chocolate bar, throw a little ugly Christmas sweater into it, and have some activities for the kids to do that they could in turn use as a gift to give to their parents. And then I'm gonna throw it your way now.
Okay, this is gonna be a homeowner gala event. And it says gala because I am presenting the clubhouse as a gala. It's gonna be designated for only you guys, for the homeowners. I know some of the homeowners are not here in Christmas, but that's when we started with the flyer going out now. So most of them, if they wanna come down and join us. And the theme is gonna be the cookies exchange. We're gonna start off in here with that. And that was Debbie's idea, so everyone's gonna be, we're gonna bring some cookies and they're gonna bring some cookies, but they get a little box to take home too. And there's gonna be different crafts that Melody's gonna put together. She's the one that's gonna be here with me that day. If you have any kids, they're more than welcome to come in. There's gonna be stuff for kids, for adults, and different entertainments. So that's gonna be our first gala here at the Solterra.
How exciting.
Okay?
Very nice. I'm
Yes.
looking forward to hearing about it.
Okay.
Who's bringing the insulin?
Bring your own insulin. The district does not take on the liability for that.
I have to rediscuss this and, talk about some details. We went and the two of us together kind of looked at the calendar and the major holidays when the resort is very busy, and then the times when we tend to have peak homeowners visiting the property, and we've kind of penciled out additional dates throughout the year. I think we have four more tentative dates on the calendar throughout the year, outside of the busy pass hour periods when, things start to quiet down a little bit and, homeowners tend to come and visit their homes. So
Is there
hopefully there's
anything,
opportunities for everyone throughout the year.
is there anything that you need from the board for this planning? It's just a general update.
So it's just a general.
Okay, exciting news. Yeah, ladies, thank you. Great.
Yes.
Great work on that. Keep up the hard work. Okay, and then there is a group that is requesting.
So as you all may be aware, each April timeline, we have the large group of people that come and rent a lot of the area that then put up tents and whatnot for Passover, for their, kind of religious services. They have already reached out to have this event next April. So what we would do is if the board wants to approve it going forward, Meredith and I can get with Abraham and do the regular agreement that we've done the last few years. We just need full direction on
For
that.
the third tent on Broad Oak.
Yes, it would be the exact same. They've always
Okay.
provided insurance. Our reports from staff have always been, they've left the district's property in excellent condition. We've not had issues reported to us from it. If it's the board's pleasure, we can go ahead and move forward with that again.
Yeah, I've experienced no problems with that. It's kind of centrally located from Villatel to the areas where the larger homes are, and they will walk down there. Some of them pass through people's yards, but I can't stop that.
But the dates this year would be March 29th through April 12th, just so everybody's aware.
It also takes the heat off of, the pressure off of, because what they did before that in the past was everybody would congregate at one person's home, which means one homeowner, ends up having a lot more traffic than, that is called for. So I think it's a good idea.
So we have to, so they got someone over there or something, because the amount of trash that they are very peaceful, they leave the district in great standing after they leave. I will be motion to approve this. Last 3 years, I've motioned to approve this and been agreeing with it happening. But the amount of trash that piles up and the amount of trash that we actually see getting dumped in front of the government area is a concern. And I mean, that's every community that has this event has that same trash issue. I don't know if there's any way for them just to get like one dumpster that they use maybe in Belltel or somewhere central where they can throw their overflow in.
Well, we do have in the standard license agreement that they sign an obligation for them to clean up any trash or debris that they leave. What we'll do is we'll talk to Abraham again. This has been many years. He's very easy to talk to and work with, and let them know that in addition now this year, just because of years past, we are going to ask if they either bring in a dumpster or do a bit more robust cleaning of the area. And again, I don't think that that would be an issue with him. We'll work with him on it.
I think it could be more specific, not vague. Like, hey, we just like, there was a lot of trash and the compactors got overwhelmed last year. Is that right? So it would be a requirement. We're happy to do it. You would need to pay for an additional dumpster.
Not to jump on anything, but isn't like trash a function of the HOA, not necessarily the CDD? So are we gonna ask them to put a dumpster near the town?
I'm asking for just based on the amount of trash that was over there that they spread throughout all the homes and cause, I mean, the major trash pile up. Even the 2 dumpsters I saw that the HOA brought in, they were overflowing, we had birds in them. I mean, it's really, I'm asking for the whole community.
It was a lot.
So I think if we're giving them the space for free, the least they could do is get one dumpster to kind of dispose of some of their trash in that area.
Or can we put in just an additional fee for a quick, both dumpsters go out and come back? Like 2 a week as opposed to 1? That would be good for.
Question. So are you saying to put a dumpster by the tent?
Somewhere that's not, I saw, that's not causing, I mean,
Right.
it's like, obviously they're praying there, they're having the function, they're not gonna want a dumpster right there. I
Exactly.
totally understand that part, but maybe, they can speak to Belltel or something, get a dumpster there, bring some of their trash, because a lot of them just spreading it throughout the houses, and they're carrying it, some of it stays there overnight, and then the next morning they clean up, and the trash collects come.
Is there room where our compactors are because I think that it's not just a function of what's going on by the tent, but I think it's a function of overall in the homes, right? Because they've got a lot of people in the homes. And then again, going back to being an HOA, where HOAs, people have to, their tax dollars have to come and pick up all of this extra trash. And they have to manpower up, right, to do it. And then once they bring it back to our dumpsters and where our compactors are, I think that's where the real problem occurs. So would it be possible for them to pay to have an extra dumpster in where our compactor is and have everything, just for that period of time?
If Meredith is doing a contract, is there a way like?
Oh, yeah.
You
can do contracts, right, should it be?
Cost of support. Like, should we build in the extra cost that we need?
So, real quick, all we need is a location.
What's that?
We already deal with them.
Oh, built in.
Do we have a location that we could put an extra dumpster? We have to provide them.
Yeah, that's.
Not with your conference.
Oh, problem.
Charging them more.
That's right.
You don't even.
Can we double it up? The dumpster removal during that time.
Then we, if you guys start working, we can maybe add additional.
So there's a lot of trash during a short period of time. We just need it going out more frequently and we'll be okay.
Well, because we have to pull our compactors several times a week, in addition to just the bins, but like.
Historically, the district.
Yeah, you know, and they work to this whole final thing, and they dump it every day.
That would be certainly something we could do. So I just want to be very clear.
There was normally they charge homeowners, or like supposedly charge homeowners for their gas, but I mean, that's so hard to police, right? Like, it would be a lot easier if there was a charge to the group as a whole.
Yeah, that's why I'm just trying to be a little proactive with it. I mean, we're giving them the space. We're not asking for anything, but I mean, if they could at least help us with some of the trash, so the homeowners, the people renting these homes are actually, facing the additional cost of the community that they're currently. So I would definitely motion to approve based on, what we currently have.
So we're all these details.
Include a small, either dumpster. The dumpster reimbursement.
I have a motion from Supervisor Wissard. Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
Second from Brian. All in favor? Opposed?
One quick question that when you create the contract, what is the responsibility of the organization?
The responsibility of the.
Organization about the trash and anything cleaned up?
That's correct. So they are responsible to repair any damage this is just with respect to property. But repair any damage to district property, even if there's, a grass issue that they need to fix that, as well as any cleaning. And in addition, we do always have reserved our right to assess them for any costs for cleanup that we, the district, incur. So in the event that they do leave a large mess that does require us, the district, to expend funds, we have always reserved the right to go back and essentially recuperate. We have not historically in the past, is my understanding, but we have always reserved that right.
Is there a security deposit that
They don't provide a security deposit. What they do is provide a $1 million event insurance policy, making the district as an additional insured when it's primarily non-contributory to our insurance.
So if we install a dumpster, if we keep the dumpster and everything, we can charge them back, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sounds good.
And I will say, don't leave a mess generally, they do clean up, but the mess comes from the actual cleanup of the stuff and just piles up. The small little trash cans can't handle it, the birds, the raccoons, the wildlife gets into it and causes the mess. It's not them, they're actually very clean people, and I'm happy to welcome them into the community. They bring a lot of rentals, they bring a lot of income for our community and additional resources, but the amount of trash is just so chaotic. I think the HOA budget probably takes foot to hit on that, so I think if we give them the space, they can at least help us a little bit on that forefront of the trash.
No, good comments. Okay, staff will work on this agreement and then we will bring it back, for final ratification. Turn it over to your general manager for his reports.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I will just kind of quickly go through, because obviously my reports are as they are, so we'll just kind of focus on the top here for the financial summary. Year over year, so this past September 26th or October 28th, when I generated the report, we're looking at about 39,370 in net revenue. That's compared to 28,971. Obviously nothing to write home about because it is a very slow kind of year, but we are up 10K roughly over the last year, so that's ideal. But similarly, just like we did last month, we're keeping a good eye on the staffing and setting as many hours as we can. So I had a breakdown of bi-weekly of saving 100 hours here and there. Overall, about $5,100 savings over staffing by cutting by 15.1%. I have a graph of that. We'll continue that. Obviously, Deanna's been here a long time, so we do have a good, sense as to all of you in terms of the peaks and valleys. So we kind of know when to ramp back up the staffing and everything else. Obviously, I work with Bobby on that as it relates to the gatehouse as well. Other than that, all the projects are going to work. Hopefully, each of you were able to kind of review the first newsletter that we kind of kicked out. I worked with Chairman Merrick on that. Hopefully that looks well. I think what we're going to do next time is it'll be a similar format. I'm going to work a little bit on the mobile rollout to make it a bit more mobile friendly. That was something that Chris asked the HOA, it said he seemed big on that, so I'm gonna work on that part of it. Aside from that, obviously, I've got a breakdown of every major project, we've got stuff going on right now, so I got a breakdown of every major project. If you guys have specific questions as to where we're at, I'd be happy to fill those at this time.
And you know, maintenance and start the project in front, I kind of pointed out some of the cracking and the issues. But it seems like that project is really kind of placed on the back burner at times, but that's the forefront of our community. Right now, it's a mess. It's got white lines down the middle, and is there any way we can kind of dedicate maintenance for a week to wrap that up? And I know that a lot of the projects I actually asked Randy myself, and what's going on with this, and he said that they work on it when they can, but they get done the projects, they had to paint the foyer this week, if they have other projects that they're being directed by Deanna to complete. But I mean, as far as our entry, when you pull in here, it looks like a third world country right now.
Right.
I mean, we had all white cracks down the wall, the paint's faded, there's nothing that says, hey, welcome to Solterra. They're pulling up my gatehouse, they started working the gatehouse, and that has stopped because they're doing other projects here.
Right.
Should we get maybe one maintenance person to go up there and finish? Or at least work on it consistently to get that done by maybe Thanksgiving? Because I hate people coming here on Thanksgiving holiday, call in, they're coming to what we want, a 5-star resort. And
That does look rough, and it's been that way for far too long.
it's been about 6 weeks now. Yeah, and I had that extremely personally, I asked him this morning, and he said, they wanna work on it, but they're being directed to do other projects closer to the clubhouse, to beautify the clubhouse, which I told them to scare the 3 of them. We can get one person to go up there and, get some paint on some of it, because it looks horrendous.
Yeah, sure. I mean, again, I'll have a conversation with Randy about that.
I mean, yeah, that should be able to be knocked out in a day or two.
Well, yeah, again, part of it was filling the cracks and then there being a cure period and then.
Yeah.
Right, I did ask him about that, he said that the cracks, they have to grind down because of the cement, they have to fill it, it has to cure and paint it. Right, it seems like they go up there and they're there for a solid day, they get big chunks done, and then they go on for weeks because they got directed to paint, the foyer and something else. And now we have the gym going on, right, I don't know if they're gonna keep the gym, like, there's no floor in there, but imagine that'd be the perfect time to paint the gym. There's no floor to eliminate cleanup and it'd be much easier, so.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be involved in that, but again, I'll work with Randy, obviously, it's, I leave it to him to get delegate his team, but, and they certainly have not been given, too many tasks that they can't do, both at the same time, so we can certainly break one off and allow them to complete that project.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. Back to you.
Yeah, so, and then aside from that, we had, any other questions about the projects? Kind of status updates on that?
Very important.
We're good, keep going.
Thanks. All right, so, we just had two to present here, so, which was tab 2, so this is the sale proposal from Exercise Systems. So when we did the purchase of the items from the retreat at Champions Gate, the 2 items in particular that.
Oh, tab 1.
It's now.
Yeah, sorry, I went to tab 1.
Page 25.
Yeah, it's right after my report. So yeah, the 2 items that we unfortunately missed out on, that's just because the HOA sold it prior to, was your dual pulley system, which is the one that's in there, that's in a very state of disrepair. And then obviously the dumbbells, we had hoped to kind of increase that to up to 75 pounds and then do a more modular design so it takes up less space. And so that's what's, you're basically, what we would do is we don't want to be without a dual pulley, so it would come back in with the rest of it. And then if you guys approved it, then your vendor who is Exercise and already does the work and is doing the flooring, they would just come in and replace the 2, swap them out, build it in place, take it out. And then they would return to the storage unit, so it can also be part of the sales service.
So I thought we were gonna keep the dumbbells that we had.
So, yeah, I mean, so we do have your existing dumbbells that go to 50 pounds in terms of your system. It's much larger, sort of rack. They are dated and chewed up. You can keep them, absolutely.
Okay, I don't know how bad they look.
When I've talked to people in there at the fitness center, I've been like, hey, any ideas, suggestions, what would you do? they've all asked for more weights.
Right.
And then the dumbbells, when you're in there, there's different ones. Some of them are pretty chewed up. If we're refreshing everything, it's a perfect time
Okay.
to do a switch out. And the ones that we have, I think someone would love to pick that up. For
I'm reaching their approved quote, there's 297 amount of, now this computer. $9,699.70.
second.
I'll second that.
Had a second from Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Supervisor Murray, I'm sorry. And you do have $10,000 allocated towards fitness repairs and maintenance. So we will allocate this charge for that.
Okay, and then when we sell off the equipment, will that money go back into that budget then?
Not necessarily. From an accounting perspective, technically, yes, you're funding your revenue, but in the budget, it will reflect the $10,000 amount. You won't be at one
Okay.
necessarily,
So we've got that covered.
but you will be up on revenue. So yeah, we do have that covered. Back to you, Jim.
Okay, and is now a good time for when I print it out? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this one is the project I've worked, with, Supervisor Hyman on for some time and taken a lot of it. Yes, you've got two large pages here, as well as the smaller pages. Smaller pages can break down the actual pricing, the larger pages, on the actual renderings of what it could potentially look like, depending upon which one you want to have. So we have it in various colors. Solterra was just fine, but we put back on the waterfall. You guys have that?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Sure. Okay.
You can set that. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, great work, Joe. Are we reviewing pricing or just renderings, Joe?
Both, essentially. So, yeah, this was the only one that I felt was really one that we'd want to present. We had gone at fast size. Fast size was fairly uncomfortable with the type of installation it was going to be, and the expense was pretty high. This company we went to, they've done a lot of work like this in the past, so they were much more comfortable. Any changes to the renderings that Supervisor Hines wanted, they got back to us. We had a pretty brief period of time. We're pretty stoked about the project. And pricing wise, it's about $4,000 cheaper than the other two we spoke to, and they were not willing to provide kind of spot on renderings like this. I believe we have a couple different options. Obviously, you'll see it's the brush where it's in white, video white with actual colored outline. And then you have obviously full color with no color outline. Then there's an orange you could also do as well. So white, blue, orange, you're kind of, it's all it's currently working with.
So I have a question for legal counsel. I don't know if this is appropriate or not. Would it be okay to do a poll in the community to see if they were in favor of doing something like this before we expect $10,000?
I would recommend, if the board wants to consider this and you want community input, because it was not on the agenda and the public didn't have an opportunity to review or comment, if the board wants to put this on the December agenda and allow for community evaluation and feedback at your December board meeting, that's absolutely within the board's authority and a purview to do that.
Yeah, I'd rather.
So, can I speak to this?
Yeah.
Okay, so rewind to when we awarded Artemis the amenities contract. The first day that I sat down with Joe and Sandra, and Bob was here at that point, and we talked about the resort and where we needed to go with this. The very first thing that Joe said to me about the amenities, and mind you, we have a beautiful resort and we have guests that return time after time that love our beautiful homes here. But Joe said, the resort does not have an identity. It's a nice, beautiful blank slate out here. And we have, Brian here working on social media engagement. We have say I'm working on a lot of IT things that are way over my head because that is not where my brain is. And think about any other resort that you have been to. You arrive and you just said, speaking about the front gate, that there's no sign that says, welcome to Solterra Resort. So you arrive here and you see this beautiful waterfall, but there's nothing to tell you where you are. So if you don't think for a moment that every guest that comes in here isn't going to stand there and take a picture and put it on their social media and tag the resort, it's going to be a huge social media driver. And we've also talked about offering a souvenir to guests that are tagging the resort on social media where they can take their picture, bring their resort card, put a stamp on it, and get a small souvenir gift to take home in exchange for tagging the resort.
Like one of those souvenir cups or something from the cafe. Also, further to your point, back at the beginning, and I remember that it didn't look like this, because we didn't know what it looked like. But we had been discussing a number of possibilities, and Brian posted it on the WhatsApp chat.
With the block letters.
The block letters, and posted that we were thinking of doing this, and overwhelmingly, everybody said yes. I think that homeowner feedback is an imperative. I agree with you on that. And I think that these town halls that we do, things like that are an absolute must. I think it's wonderful, it gives everybody the opportunity to weigh in. I think that we maybe, going to an issue in everything that we do, we put it up for a vote with the homeowners for every little nuance and every little thing. And I know 10,000 sounds like a lot of money, but in the scope of our budget, it's really very small. We spend that in landscaping. And if I went through and said, oh, okay, before we fill these pots, who agrees with this plant matter? And who agrees with that plant matter? You know, everybody's going to have an opinion. And then we run the risk of, when we get into the weeds with it all, then we run into the problem of too many cooks in the kitchen. I think that we have to, at a certain point, say, okay, you know, do the homeowners agree with having this kind of branding out by the pool? And everybody said yes. Everybody was excited about it. The sand volleyball thing, people were excited about it. And then when we get into the weeds with it, that's what our job is. That's our function here. So, that's my opinion.
I think it's a great idea to do. It's the amenity, it's the number one area that people come through the Solterra that generally have an experience. We have a giant logo over the waterfall where everyone looks at when they walk in. So the chance that it could appear in more photos that are going on the internet increases it. More people are coming to the cafe, which is what we're trying to do. Because they're standing around. I think it's a great sign. Do you guys have any preferences on which color you like? There's a lot of colors.
Orange.
The orange pops, the blue just kind of gets lost in the background and the white is kind of boring to me.
If I may,
So
I think it's not about the budget $10,000. It is always good to have an opinion of everybody. I know we have the different channels, town hall and everything. There's nothing wrong with having more people like involved in the community. They are paying. They are contributing to the CDD. It's good to have a opinion as well. It's one survey. More good. It's not about $10,000. More about like involving the community.
So, if we, right now today in the meeting, is there one that we all could agree on would be the one that we would want to take to the community as you guys approve of this? If yes, we move forward.
Can we just vote on this?
It's completely up to the board what you do.
Yep.
I do want to note that the site survey includes up to 30 miles for the trip. And again, I apologize, we didn't get a chance to look at this in advance either. It's a 43 miles one way, so there may be additional expense for the site survey trip charge based on what they're saying.
Okay.
Again, and I'm not telling the board what to do, I just want to make sure that everybody has the information. In addition, I can guarantee that this will have insurance implications for the district, and insurance has not been contacted about this at all. So there would be insurance considerations here, like in terms of.
People signing up there.
In foreign, that was foreign.
And there are the concept that your insurance will change here. In addition, it's property that you'll want insured in the event of a storm or damage or anything
Sure.
like that, right?
Sure.
So this is a starting number. I don't want to excite anybody's anticipation that this would be a final number for you all, for the district for this.
So I would say that, yeah, since we do need to find out what the insurance issues are gonna be, we can, I think we should go ahead and table it until we can do more investigation. Just because we need to know we need to quantify it and make sure that it's not gonna be a problem for insurance. But if we could, look at, like we've done on a number of other projects, give some sort of a not to exceed on the insurance. And also see if we can negotiate with the vendor on that extra mileage. I think it really, usually mileage ends up being pennies per, it's not gonna be that expensive. But if we can do some sort of not to exceed and with regard to the insurance,
I could not give you an estimate on what that would be, though. That's not.
Basically,
But
that's
you
make
all
sure
to
that-
make that decision.
Right, we basically need to make sure the insurance is gonna cover the replacement cost of the sign if the storm comes through or knocks it down.
or anything else that might
Right,
occur.
like
It's not up to
go up.
us what insurance is gonna.
I mean, we already have the risk of people climbing on rocks without a sign on there, and we do a pretty good job of keeping people off of it. And I don't know if the sign is gonna encourage more people to climb on it or not, to be honest with you, but
The other thing that I'd like to
that's what staff does.
the other
And also, Joe, can you make sure that whoever is the engineer, make sure that they, because this area is prone to storms, winds, high winds and all. So,
and
Yeah.
it will be properly installed.
the other thing that I'd like to consider is if we're gonna do this and we're doing things at night is, and we could probably get them on Amazon, they're really cheap, solar uplights to put at the foot of this to kind of back illuminate it. I think it'd be real nice since we are open until 10 o'clock at night. And also just so that
Lighting in general.
it's visible, we could probably get, 3 of them for $100 on Amazon, I'm guessing, just for some solar backlights to install behind it. But I would like to vote on it now, given a not to exceed on the insurance and provided that our insurance company doesn't deny it flat out and give us some sort of other issue that they've.
So we have a motion from.
Can we do the dollar?
Yeah, dollar value.
Project, so this, plus we'll talk to them about trip charges and insurance on top of it, if you want to not to exceed for the and solar lighting for the whole project, if there's again, I can't give you an estimate.
Well, I mean, the lighting isn't a priority for me right now. We can always have somebody come in and look at lighting after it's been installed. Because we're not gonna run power for this structure.
It's gonna be $100.
So-
Like that, it's not-
Just for your consideration, you have in a line item for clubhouse maintenance and repairs, 314,000. You have, year to date with contracts and the gym repairs that we've done, you're at 172. So, yeah, roughly 120 that's happened to that line item. If you're asking for a suggestion, I would say, not to exceed 20,000 if it goes over that. We can't do it until
It's gonna be
December.
nice to be that high.
It's not that you're gonna spend it, you just give the wiggle room that this is the full amount. If it comes in at 11, great.
If you do a not to exceed 10 or not to exceed 15 and it comes in at 1501,
Right.
we'd be back at the board, that's what Brian is saying.
That's correct.
in December and we couldn't move forward.
Well, it's 99, 88, 75 plus additional trip charges, so I don't even know that it increasing 50%.
Well, in insurance, we're trying to guesstimate.
Yeah, the insurance.
I
No,
think insurance would probably do $1,000,
Maybe.
like 10% of the total value, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at the insurance people.
It's just, it's just,
I think he's just asking me. I think it's great.
it's just infrastructure that you're gonna be adding. It's, you know,
12.
I would say, let's give it 13, just to, but I'm so excited about this because I think that this is a cornerstone moment for our community to have something like this that is imprintable. And I know Devin has Instagram and Facebook, influencers who come and stay and take pictures all the time. And this is like a really big deal. It's also a really big deal for what you were saying, getting people to take pictures for the
Media.
to drive social media, positive social media, and to get, you know, like their little cup that costs us maybe $1 at, you know, to have printed up with Solterra on it. You know, I think it's one of the best things that we
Yeah,
can
and
do.
honestly, this puts us on the path to another potential revenue driver in the future. And if we can get some nice photo ops and build up the, you know, the number of guests that were coming in here eventually, I would like to work with Artemis to get a photographer to come out here on the weekends and do photographs that we can, you know, have people purchase as souvenirs. And, you know, who doesn't go on vacation and buy a photo package when it's available? Like we always do.
Two things on this, Bobby, color, if you had to pick one, what would you pick, one on the line?
I'm gonna abstain from commenting on any of that, because I'm not a stacks person. I'm gonna leave out the Karen, the other guys.
so it's out, we got 2 for orange. Do we have any other color?
Dan, do you have any thoughts? We can still ask the community for their feedback, but is there one preference that you have?
Orange is really close to pink. Usually, that is a little,
It's powder coated, it's not gonna fade. It's powder coated.
You'll need to have maintenance on it, you know, every 2 years, especially if there's like chlorine water running through it, but it's just maintenance. So I have to finish this motion. So the motion was, not to exceed so if it's 13,000, it goes over 13,000, we'll have to bring it back. Okay, so we had 13,000, approving the signage project. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Second from Supervisor Hine. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, is this still gonna be discussed at the
You
town?
can still discuss it. You can still discuss it. I just
And
have to
change our mind, if anything says, everyone says we don't like orange, because it fades and turns to pink, and we have an overwhelming majority, can we come back? and
It's
change
powder coated aluminum.
I didn't put the color. I just put signage
Okay.
project. So
Signage,
it gives
great.
you
Okay.
time to
That's good.
finalize the
This
details.
in the community, you guys can go make the decision.
While we're talking about signing, Joe, can you contact the vendor for the front lights that we had installed in that one? They're there, but they're not on.
So we
So
can,
I come home at midnight, 5 AM for the last 4 days, and those lights are not on.
I was just wanting to make sure everyone, sorry.
But they are there, see that nice little green light on.
It did pass. You're, just the color hasn't been finalized, so I will leave the color at the discretion of the amenity liaison with the survey that potentially may go out.
I love it.
All right, wonderful. General manager, anything else for your board?
No, that's all happening, Bob, I will contact REG TPD on that.
Yeah, cause then the green light on, so I don't know if that means they just have to switch them on and
That's probably.
if they charge, they can deactivate and.
Okay,
But then they are in place, they saw them up there, they did nice clean install, but they're not operational.
Okay.
All right, let's jump into landscape maintenance updates. Real quick, board, we do have Peter in the room for Yellowstone. There is a printout of, irrigation repairs that didn't make the agenda. Small amount, 383, just general repairs, right?
Yep.
Right, yeah. We are working on a landscape RFP that potentially we will include some of these minor repairs, so you don't have to, just approve every $300 invoice. Before I open up the floor, would I receive a motion to approve the irrigation repairs?
I'll motion to approve the irrigation repairs from $300, whatever it was, like
$83.
$383.
Yes, it is. 383 even, and then who's my second?
That was me.
Supervisor Myron, all in favor?
All right.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, and then Peter, can you give us the gist for the palm injection proposal?
Yeah, so, I think it's a total of 36 palm trees. So this would be for your specialty palm trees, your medjool, and also your queens. We do this on a quarterly basis. Basically, it's inoculation, prevent for any disease and insect issues. It's something you've always done. So it comes out to about $20 a palm tree.
So let me do this the last time, because I feel like we talk about this every other.
And it's every 3 months.
So the question was, when did we do this last time?
I have to look at my records, but it was approved, I believe, 3 or 4 months ago.
Okay, is it the same amount of money that we approved for the last time?
Yes, we've kept the pricing the same for the last few
Okay,
years.
so I guess my question is, if this is something that we do quarterly, why is this not something that's just not included in our contract and we have to nickel and dime this?
We're gonna be discussing that.
Okay.
Can we get it wrapped into an annual contract or?
Yeah, so they're working on that right now, providing basically a new updated agreement, and then there's gonna be some discussions amongst you all,
Yes.
what you wanna have included or what you wanna have as a.
No, so I'll fill you guys
That
in.
proposal, you more, 249? I can see it.
Yes, well, and we'll discuss that as well. Okay.
I'll
So, yeah,
motion to approve proposal 624-249, the last thing is going to be $50.
motion from Supervisor Boissard and a second from Supervisor Mertz. All in favor? Opposed?
I'd like to
Carried.
provide, I can make sure you can skip this as a contractual agreement, set up every 4 months, and you guys can do it either way. Instead of overtime every 4 months, yeah, do it, maybe we can skip that.
It's a newer thing that, more people are doing over the last 5 years, because they're seeing such decline in some of those sylvesters and the jewel palms. And so obviously we've been out here since 2016, I think it just wasn't wrapped in, and it wasn't something that was being done proactively in the past.
Is that why I want to look at the
It's still not silver bullets. There's like lethal bronzing, and then there's Ganoderma, where the UF is not determined a way to keep that. But this does protect it from other diseases that, destroy a $10,000 to $20,000 palm. So anything you can do to protect that is beneficial.
So if you shock if that is fine.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and then, so we will work on that. Peter, you have your approvals. I'll get these documents over to you after the meeting.
There was a proposal that was previously sent over for September irrigation repairs. I sent it to your email just so you had it again. Somehow it didn't make it in our last meeting's agenda, but it was for $1,027.83.
Needed.
Yeah, this is first September.
Okay,
We just went ahead and did it because it was valves, it was heads, it was, it's stuff that you just can't leave gushing. And you can't have areas without water.
and it's already been fixed, repaired. So we'll bring it back for ratification at December's meeting, so you can see the full amount and the invoice associated.
You can have a print out of it.
I sent it to Brian.
Is there any way you can pull out so that we can try to things and stuff else, so they get paid and not leave me 2 more months?
They already got paid.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll bring it back for ratification so that you could formally review it. So just for the board's knowledge, irrigation repairs are one thing that typically we'll work with the landscape liaison to approve in between meetings, because you can't just have irrigation shut down for 3 to 4 weeks. Those are usually approved in between, reviewed thoroughly, and then ratified formally at your board meeting. I will fish that one out specifically if it's not.
Brand, when you try to check statement, is that the budget allocated that is coming within the budget?
Mhm.
Okay, sir.
Yes, it's all approved for in the budget. You have for irrigation, I think, what, roughly 60,000?
Okay,
So you're accounted for it, landscape, Yeah, 64,000 for irrigation.
And just for reference, like between October and September, if you add the two, it's about $1,400. For this size community, averaging $700 a month for sharing, for irrigation comparisons.
So while you're still here, last month we talked about getting together and walking communities to work on a future landscape plan.
Yep,
I have not had any communication with you for a month.
okay.
Have you met with him to talk about any amenities, landscaping, future plans?
No, I did do some renderings for some different things.
I don't know if you've seen a bunch of them, we did a lot of renderings for this.
I mean, and her, I can't talk about this together. It was like, she's gonna do landscaping and I have amenities, and you need to be communicating with both of us. For a month that's gone by, I don't have any.
Well, I did the renderings earlier in the month and sent them forward. I have to, because of our,
We'd be happy to meet you next week.
okay, I have to let it go with that. So, and I don't think that Ryan is permitted to share those renderings that I did for the landscaping.
They could be in the agenda for all supervisors to see.
Okay.
Which we're working.
But that, right,
So that might be the way to share the information appropriately, but I know that we're having a big conversation
Well,
about.
here's the fact.
We didn't approve the pine straw for the amenities, because we're
Correct.
gonna get together and come up with a plan.
No, in Peter's defense, we are working through a couple of projects, so just in terms of the level of priority, this month we were working on the slides and painting the bathroom, so I will schedule a meeting with the three of us so
Okay,
that we can go into the next project of landscape, because we were working on the potted plants as well, so it's not that it's been forgotten, it's just we need to coordinate a day that's gonna.
so you did spearhead that.
Yes.
And I'll wait to hear from you. Okay,
I will set up the meeting here.
I just feel like I just kind of.
yeah.
I don't want you to be child liver, come on.
Your vacation?
She had an emergency irrigation, I don't know what that's about property, so standing in for it.
Peter, I'm gonna turn it over to Supervisor Winker. Do you want to give the board an update of the potted plants? So we can
Yeah,
get some
sure.
organized?
So, and I found this out while I was away, but, the health department came, our potted plants were installed, they were beautiful. The ones on the peninsula, I thought were absolutely gorgeous until the health department came and said we can't have potted plants next to the pool. And so, Deanna had to move them into other places and I was away. But we just have to we'll go around and decide where those might find their
Never heard
home.
that before.
Yeah,
See it everywhere.
you see
I
it
know.
everywhere, right? So I was wondering if maybe they just need to be taller because they're thinking kids might get in them and drag the dirt into the pool. Maybe that's it. So we'll have to get ahead of that and figure that out, ask for the code that they're
Is that
citing.
your big palm trees that are against the pool, maybe you moved as well?
Exactly. Well, I guess maybe they figured nobody's gonna shimmy up there, but they couldn't take the rocks in for them to water. So we'll find out what the deal is with that. But in the interim, we'll figure out a place for those bowls to go. And then, I did a number of renderings, which, for the lazy river island, for landscaping for that, and, for different things around the community. One of the things that we have been talking about are around our non-spring ponds, our dry retention ponds, which always seem to have some water in them. But lately, because of the lack of water, it's this big ugly sand ring around it. And trying to figure out how we can get that to look a lot nicer. And also that what we had been discussing about a bamboo hedge between us as a barrier and the adjacent communities, which don't particularly care about the aesthetics of what our homeowners have to look for. We had discussed a few things, including, just spreading wildflower seeds back in these areas that are really sandy. And, they throw these seeds along the sides of highways. Lady Bill Johnson back in the sixties came up with this idea to beautify our highways, and they require no maintenance once they're established. So that may be a really nice way to handle it, the least expensive way and nice looking. So we have discussed some ideas, and I think you submitted a proposal, Vicky did, for a test area before we just start doing it everywhere. For one stretch, which would include, watering for the initial watering for it to become established. Once they become established, they come back year after year on, correct?
Yep.
So, I don't know if that's something that we need to, or we want to have approved, or,
Well, so right now, you and I are gonna work on consolidating the next set of projects to be considered in December.
all right.
I was curious too, like, obviously, we submitted a proposal, but I wonder if there are hydro seeding companies that can come out and it's like a special mix that, they do on pond banks to do Bahia seeding. And it's got like it holds water better. You've seen it when people do it on the lawns up north. I wonder if there's companies that do wildflower hydro seeding. So like, it might be something to look into just for cost effectiveness and just overall success of them, because that, whatever the material is, it holds it on the pond banks and keeps it in place, allows it to seed and so.
Sometimes there are like blankets of seeds that you
Right,
can
yeah,
just
yeah.
roll them out.
Yep,
And you don't have to go and do a spreader or
I'd
something.
be curious.
like that.
It may be small term
You
options.
know, that has like some sort of food option inside of it, and a
Yep.
fertilizer option inside of it. I think we have to do something that's, again,
I love the idea of wildflowers, especially on the back side of the palms, because when you're looking at it, you can't necessarily see
That's
the
true.
sandy front edge, but you can see it on the back.
Yeah.
And it creates a little bit of barrier for what is on the back side, and it does seem very cost effective.
and the water, the water management company last month, we had talked about, getting rid of the algae and thank you, I didn't see you. And also the, mosquitoes and managing that. And we could put some koi in there or something in there, but there was an issue. What was the issue with that?
Algae fish are illegal to.
Well, there you go. I remember there was some issue, but the lotuses seem to be a good workable solution, and also something that was beautiful. We have those in the pond back behind Misty Oak to the south and west side of Misty Oak. And it's beautiful. It actually contributed to our being able to sell a home back there really fast. Because we all just thought it was gorgeous. So that would mitigate problems and beautify actually in the lodge too. So
Working on a lot of things and
working on a lot of things.
exciting things. And one big portion will be this landscape, RFP that we will be discussing, that Supervisor Winker as well as Supervisor Newman are working on. So over the next 3 months, you'll see several proposals for landscape enhancements throughout the amenity area and the CDD in its entirety. Mulch, pine straw, when we,
So it's starting next week.
nice.
Yep, and we already got the majority of the grasses cut back. We like to do that prior. We could go ahead and do it afterwards, and it leaves a mess on top of your fresh pine straw. So if you drive down the boulevard, you see all the grass cutbacks that have been done. It sounds like they just have a few ancillary parts that are going to hit early on next week and ready for pine straws.
Wonderful, that's good news, right for the holiday. Any questions, board, for your landscape team? Peter, anything to add?
Just that we're gonna be doing a granular fertilizer draft in 2 weeks. So you'll be seeing our pen teams out here doing that for your St. Augustine areas. And then Vicky just told me that, she is gonna be replacing the annuals, over the next 2 weeks, just the one that are rounded out in your front way.
They look so good, right?
I know it's important, if anyone wants to come up and grab them while we're changing them, we can learn everyone. We do like 10,000 annuals per rotation at reunion, and, when we pull them out, I mean, they look gorgeous, but they're on a set quarterly schedule, we have a contract room for that property, and so people show up in cars.
Yeah, they're paying for it technically, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Tell what we're doing.
I'm not sure if you're doing, probably doing poinsettias, I would imagine, when the holidays come.
Yeah.
So,
What are we doing?
I'll confirm and give you guys an exact date, so we can let you all know, we can set it out there.
Yeah, maybe we can send it out with Jim.
Send a bulletin out. so
Yeah.
People can come.
Residents can get your annuals.
No wrestling over there.
I'm just waiting.
Standards. Go out, anybody can take them at, so that can keep the, for anyone to have that in paper.
That would be nice.
Okay.
You're on the way for at least two.
I would have a picture of your adjustments. I'm gonna say if they're native. Maybe, I'd have to look, yeah.
I just wanted, I asked Joe if the plants that they're giving away are acceptable HOA guidelines that should be placed at our homes. But he has to look into that, he said that needed possibly amenable, but
If you're doing a temporary planter on your back
Well,
patio.
vegetables aren't permanent anyway, so.
yeah.
So,
I get him, Bobby doesn't know anything about flowers.
Peter, anything else?
Just, we'd like to address this gentleman, because those concerned about the perimeter areas, they are being done today by 2 crews. And, this time of year, we do them 1 time per month. In the summer months, it's every 2 weeks. In the winter months, basically November, that March, it's done on a monthly basis for the grass.
and for anybody who didn't
Thank you.
hear
Yep.
Meredith, do you want to repeat what you said?
So what we'll have on the agenda for December is a resolution, the board's familiar with the declare surplus property that is then, distributed at no cost to the general public. We did that with the HOA recently with some things. What we'll do is for annuals, if that's the board's pleasure, just in perpetuity, when annuals are being, taken out, then you'll have the paperwork in place to say, anybody that wants to come take these annuals that are still beautiful, but we're not using anymore, can come take them. And then we'll just have to do a one and done for that, so we don't have to do it every time.
Great stuff.
You can take
Any
it
other questions?
and send out an email, you can pick up if we want.
Good.
Thank you all.
Peter, thank you. You've been awesome work with, thank you, Peter.
Try.
All right, turn it over to aquatic maintenance.
It's
Some huge improvements.
It's a false.
Come on.
So, see,
good one.
Good morning.
yeah, your ponds overall are looking pretty good. The low water levels kind of throws it off because you see like, oh, there's all these lilies in here, growing real tight. It's just because the ponds are down 30-40%, so they don't have as much room to spread out. You still got that pesky pond 27 up at the loop there. I took a look at what our tech is spraying there. And just wasn't a huge fan of it, so I told him like, hey, let's not use that, let's switch to something else, and it should clear it right away. He's using more like a algae prevention product, not like an actual algaecide, so that's just spraying something to kill it, it's really kill it. But otherwise, yeah, it's looking fine. There was another one on there I mentioned, we've been trying something new on the algae, and it's working very, very well.
Site 21, I mean, night and day here.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the orange
Oh my
algae,
God.
yeah. Yeah, because we've been doing some like rough field testing.
Sure.
It's just it's a more of a bacterium than an algae, so we have effectively a product than an algaecide, so yeah, it's got it down.
Yeah, site 21 and site 23 board were extremely notable in the comparisons from picture to picture. And just in general, with the exception of site 27, everything has a pretty significant improvement on, inspection over inspection. So great work, great testing, seeing the results. Let's keep up the good work here. And then you have some proposals to be considered.
Yes, you'd all asked about mosquitoes, so I have 2 proposals on there for mosquitoes, and it's kind of a one or the other thing, so you don't have to do both. The first one is for a product called Skeeter. I believe it's written up for midges, which will also help with midge flies, but we're gonna use it to help with mosquitoes. Basically, we come around. Comes in 32-ounce bottles, we crack them open, and it just as we're treating the ponds, he just dumps them out, and it's an oil that sits right on top of the ponds, and we've measured it out, so we know how many bottles to put out to make just a very fine film. So as, nymphs from midges and mosquitoes try to come out of the water, they get stuck in the oil and they can't be in the pond. On top of that, there's nematodes also in the bottles that need to be monitored.
And how does that affect wildlife?
Not at all. It's all natural stuff. It's like garlic oil, something else, but it's a natural
So
stuff.
frogs, birds, nothing like that.
Not at all.
Nematodes are the biggest things, I know, I'm usually representing.
Yeah. That would be just on pond 6. I was trying to keep your budget in mind, and I just picked 6 because it's the largest and most central. So it would have to be the more biggest impact for cutting the numbers down. And that would be a billed monthly, like we come around.
So that is just for one pond.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, just on pond 6.
I think that's like the.
So $6,720 is for a period
For the year.
For the year.
for the year for one pond.
Yes.
And we have how many ponds with water?
Well, with water, it's about 25.
Something?
But we're about 25.
I'm comfortable living with this.
I would say so.
It's the bug spray. I'll go to the job.
As somebody that lives here year round, I don't really have a mosquito problem personally. So
What is causing the mosquitoes? Is it the algae, the vegetation?
It's just a body of water.
It's just body of water. Ah,
It's big green water and they lay eggs.
So how much,
Yes.
how much just something that could,
oh, so-
because they don't breed in moving water, right?
Right.
So how much would it cost to just install some sort of pump to keep the water moving?
That would be like an aeration system.
Very,
or a fountain.
very expensive.
Right.
That's really.
Most expensive.
Yes, and it's gonna be, I just proposed an aeration system to another property, and that pond was, I think, 20% the size of pond 6, and that system was gonna be $9,000.
It is.
So you need a lot more.
But $9,000, figure you
One
said it's
time.
one time,
And a very.
and.
Right,
Right, but the maintenance isn't gonna be a fraction of the cost of the system and the installation.
And replacement.
Do you want to get pricing for
And we're-
these? Oh, true.
And
That's the other problem, was you have to get with
Can
electricians.
it be solar power?
I believe there are solar units. I can run with, it's like our vendors and stuff to see, but I do have another proposal in there
Okay,
because I know that, 6,000 pond is a little different, and that's to put fish.
per year. I mean,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
talking, right, we're talking about $200,000 a year, $250,000 a year for that?
Well, no, that would just, no, that proposal would just be for just that one. We're not gonna do.
Right, but just that pond, but we have 30 ponds to address. So the point being, that's almost $200,000 for 30 ponds if they're all on average the same size. So, and that's per year. If we can find a solution, even if it's 50% more or twice the cost, but it's a permanent solution, and assume that the cost of maintenance on it, even if it's 10% a year, is still, forward thinking, way less expensive than having to revisit this every single year.
Absolutely, and that's why there was another proposal on there to put fish in that same pond.
Right,
And because that is it's a one-time thing, and I will, if someone says, hey, we want to get rid of mosquitoes, I'll say fish 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, I was fish in there.
yeah,
We'll stock it in there with the mosquito fish. And just
as long
naturally,
as they're not piranha, yeah.
Yeah.
they're about that big when they're fully grown.
Yeah.
Just over time,
Piranha or two, they're only that big.
Alligators in the pond to keep the water.
Let's go with alligators.
So, do we want to consider estimates for stocking the ponds with fish?
You got.
And what is that estimate? How much is that?
Well, yeah, it's this one, finished on.
Yeah, it's on there.
I may be jumping ahead
Mhm.
in this, but last month we talked about the plants in the ponds.
That's coming.
And I want to see the before and the after picture that you brought. And before I decide I want to spend more money on ponds, I really want to see this. I don't know
I
about
don't
anybody
think-
else.
Okay, so
Did we plant,
I feel,
did we plant anything in the pots? No.
I'm all for, progress, right? That's why I didn't want to drag our heels on the Solterra sign because, it was like the coolest, because I feel like a lot of the complaints that I see is, oh my gosh, you guys are always talking about things and you guys are all, and then you don't end up doing anything. So, in the mindset of progress and getting things done, I would typically want to say, let's move forward and let's make a decision here. But it's winter time. We're coming into winter, right? And we're not in any massive hurry. I'd say let's explore the options here. I like the idea of the fish, because the fish are not gonna have to be replenished every year. God willing, they're not gonna die. So that'll be a perpetual solution. But let's also look at, we could price out, the aeration fountain possibilities, solar powered if possible.
So aerators and fountains.
Yes,
Just one, because we could quantify.
exactly.
And I agree, I am more in favor of the fish. I would like to see the fountain issue, but again, as somebody that's lived here year round for 4.5 years, I wouldn't say that we have a mosquito problem here.
As,
Last time when we discussed, I requested you to kind of get some comparison from other ponds where you're working.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I just print out. I was sorry, I was only able to get 3. No worries. It'll be funny if I use too much ink. So I'm using this. So this would be in regards to plantings. This was the ponds, or it's actually 2 ponds that we, the property we service in Weston Chapel. The first few pages are just a couple snippets of reports we were doing before we planted, and you can see all the algae growing in there. And the second 2 pages outlines like, planting September of 23. And since then, it's almost nothing. Just for fairness sake, I did put one picture in there that's like, hey, there is still algae here, plants are not perfect.
Then I'll give it to Brand. No,
I think right.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't have that one.
I think you could take a look at it.
Thank you.
Good action.
Yeah,
Oh, these are the plants?
Yeah, well, it's, yeah, just simple forward and average of the planting we did a couple years ago.
Soft and Russian good.
That's a low cost, right? It's a very little cost.
and so that is the Pond 5 Golden Canna.
There's a couple of them on there.
Or 1844, and then there's Pond
And, the one that's on Lake Lisa.
6, that was 2676.
And I'll tell you, after seeing the amount of water leaving these ponds, wait to plant. Because I want you to spend all this money and put the plants in, and they don't have enough water coming in naturally, and they almost die. So I'm gonna hold off until the spring.
You're gonna wait till the spring?
Yeah.
So then do we want to bring this back like in March?
You wanna hold these until March?
Hang on to it and come
Okay.
in. We'll see.
I can hold on to these exact ones. Pricing, you're good with, firm?
I just have to check with my plant guy, his
Okay.
prices may change, that's about it.
from the time we vote on and approve this, how long does it take you to implement?
Planting? Usually couple weeks, they really just depends on my plant guy's schedule, and he can actually get me the plants.
And when is the best month to plant?
I'd say April,
April, so March, okay.
Okay.
Just wanted to know.
because that's when it's, the weather's starting to keep back on, it's supposed to rain, because, I'd say hold on my plants for right now.
Yeah,
Do you think March is a good time to bring this back then?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, that's,
So we'll do.
Well, thank you for not encouraging.
So March and April will bring back these as well as the aerator and the fountain options, at which point we could review plants for fountains or aerators.
Yeah, I think.
Because it's winter
It
cycle.
would look great in that big pond, going back to the hotel, which is one of the ponds that we were talking about.
And yeah, aerators, they'll help with the nutrient balance like nice wood as well. They just keep everything moving. They're just wonderful things.
Oh, really?
But anyway, it's a good progress in which. Okay.
Yeah, our guy just sitting out here is, I think tenacious is too nice. So,
This is tough, obviously. Okay, no, great. What about fish stocking? Are we gonna be tabling or moving forward with
I think we're gonna wait to hear about the area.
fish stocking as well?
Yeah, let's, we're not in a hurry right now, so we can sit on it for the moment.
Very good. I will bring these back. Anything else for your aquatics? Hearing none? Okay, thank you. Great work. Pond's looking good. Good progress. All right, jumping into F&B committee updates. Supervisor Gillen, would you like to lead this one?
Please go ahead. Anyway.
Sure.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
So the F&B committee, did have their meeting. We've been working with the Artemis team on just some general updates on our licenses to ensure that we're, ready for a grand opening. Been speaking to Joe, and Joe did reach out to LLP and had some updated, dates for the licensing.
Yes, Sandra, I think
Sandra.
I'm every other day, so.
Is that the state has all the paperwork that is needed at this point for both the food service and the liquor license. Probably by midweek, this upcoming week, LLP should be receiving an invoice from the state. And then once that payment is done, inspection should be scheduled for the food service. And then when we get the temporary liquor license issued, a compliance inspection will be scheduled at that point as well. We are all still on track for January 1. We should have I'm being told, we should have all the license in place by hopefully the end of the first week of December.
Nice.
Where are we at on budget? Cafe staffing, because the last 3 months from now, we got a budget yet for staffing.
Well, no, in terms of, so the budget is that, obviously, Diane would present that initial budget, that was part of the contract.
I'm talking about the staffing costs.
Right.
So like, I wanna know exactly what we're gonna spend on staffing this cafe, because we have some pretty tight numbers. So last year, the labor for Reeling, $450,000. They paid $348,000 for the vendors. So that puts it at $798. Their full profit for the entire year is $61,000. So I'm afraid that we're getting into a situation here where we're gonna have a cafe, we're gonna staff it, we're telling people we're gonna make some profit. Real is only getting $61,000 for the entire year. I don't wanna be in a situation where we're staffing a cafe and that's our profit possibly. So my question is, where is your budget? Because as we sit right now, I'm not even comfortable moving forward with the cafe under the CDD. I would much rather see it outsourced. We have zero risk. We get some money. We get a percentage for our rent or whatever, and we don't even have to discuss it. But we've been dealing with it for months. I want to know where our budget is so that I can see if we're gonna actually make any money for this cafe, because we know what we did last year. Right? And we can't project, we're going next year, rentals are down and revenues are down like this. I don't want to see us expend any more money into something that we may not make a profit.
Right, and Greg has prepared a staffing plan. He does already have a staffing plan. He's been working, and obviously past year is not a good period for him. So when he gets back, we'll provide that across to speak to. But again, it's gonna be a light year to start with. Obviously, you're gonna be in January, so it's not really until February we're kicking in anyway. But part of that is looking at any inefficiencies that exist within their existing model. Again, this is, I understand, where you're coming from, but this is something that we really can't continue to replicate over. Yeah. So obviously, as we get in, it's our job. And the CDD and kind of working in conjunction with the artists, say what's working, what's not working, what are your expectations, do we need to drive down, staffing where the costs coming from. And so I think initially, the most important thing was milestone, getting the licenses and getting those things in. And then let's look at our vendors, that's gonna obviously bring in, a little bit of cost, and then you can work with somebody like REG, who again, is gonna have a heck of a lot more knowledge in terms of how to, move through kind of the nuance concerns that you have that I do, and I'm not speaking about manager.
I mean, I've owned businesses since I was 18 years old. For 20 years, I've owned and operated businesses. I've never had any better. I look at the numbers here, there's not much of a problem. So that's what I'm looking at, this is why I'm asking for the budget. I've been asking this for 3 months for a staffing budget. I know it's not you have very limited in food and beverage, but we should be able to have prevented staffing estimates of what we're spending, just like when you guys came in, we have a budget, your maximum cap on spending this.
Brian.
Okay, real quick, sorry, sounds good, Bobby, we hear you. Sam, you were on the call where we were doing some oversight. What are your thoughts on this?
Now, I mean, like, when it comes to the licensing, I already spoke with Joe at the company meeting, or even after that also, I had a quick call yesterday as well. As he mentioned, like, with the inspection, once they pay the fee, they schedule the inspection. In my experience, from my experience point of view, because I operate in both states, South Carolina and Florida as well, inspection will take time, considering the holidays time. If we are cutting really thin for the January 1st, that's number one point, right? When it comes to licensing and the scale, the inspection schedules and so on.
Yep.
But when it comes, if you're asking about the sales point of view, technically, we made $58,000 last year. I mean, like, the real manage, maybe we have a room to improve. My last point is, I think the artists can give us some kind of an idea where they would like to see, at least like we'll get that, heads that, okay, hey, this is what we were, it was some $860,000 last year, in the 2024 to 2025, but this year, when you guys take over, calculate 860 or less, or maybe $1 million, something like that, because first is experimentation, right? It is just like, we do something, we figure it out, and then we kind of experiment a little bit more, kind of, it's an ongoing process of first year. So at least like from your team, for the board, if you can present something like, hey, this is what we were kind of thinking or projecting, maybe that kind of alleviates some of our apprehensions.
For sure, and again, I mean, we can certainly look into that.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, it's my understanding that in the initial push in the first place in the proposal, that those were based off of Roman numbers and kind of an evaluation by Bob on that. And in terms of what he saw as an expected profit potential there. So, that's where, obviously we've, made certain decisions already in terms of initial staffing and everything else to kind of keep that as a lean budget as we can at the moment.
Okay.
But, certainly.
But my concern right now, we have never in the budget, so we agreed to give you a certain amount of money and keep replenishing that budget. But we don't have a number total yet, is the point I'm getting to. My concern is the staffing number right now. You could come in and you could staff at $600,000 and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm not saying that's what you can do. But my concern is with the current staffing, it was $450,000 last year. If we exceed that, based on last year's numbers, we won't make any money, and I mean, as short-term rental owners know, right now, the rentals are down. The house next to me has been empty for weeks, the house across the street has been empty for weeks. The numbers are down, so it's tough to look at this and say, we're gonna make $200,000 profit by taking on all the risk, when right now, I mean, we have zero risk. We walk away, if we're going to lose money, that's on that. We're not taking taxes from our homeowners and saying,
Okay, I just want to, because I usually don't I usually don't interject myself into this conversation, but this time I will. Number one, I do have a little bit of background in food and beverage, but peripherally so. And I understand that anybody that we give the license to and we rent and we get a percentage of the net proceeds from that space, it is functionally the job of that vendor to have no net proceeds, to make it at least look that way on the books. Because they don't want to pay us, and they have, no management's been extraordinarily efficient at making that the case. We do have, and I don't think that we can trust those numbers as being our numbers. The other thing is that we have brought on board, and I say brought, we have already hired somebody to take over and manage this, who has a proven track record of being able to do this and to turn a profit. Even if it's not $6 million, even if it's just anything more than what we've got right now, it's income. And that's what we voted on. It was unanimous. Every person sitting on this panel, on this board, voted for it and was very excited about it. And I think that this Monday morning, Tuesday morning, now Wednesday, Thursday morning, quarterbacking is not productive. It is counterproductive. And people who are in this business, who are homeowners, have weighed in on this. It has been unanimous on WhatsApp. Everybody, and you're very concerned about what homeowners feel and very sensitive to that. There has not been one homeowner who has weighed in against REG, against what Artemis is doing, against this decision for us to take over the cafe. Everybody has said the same thing. And the most weight should be given to people who are in this business. And there are two homeowners specifically who are extraordinarily successful restaurant, food and beverage operators who have said the same thing. Stop this pounding on bread. Stop this impeding the progress of this. Give them 6 months to a year to perform, and we can weigh in on it then. And that's what I think we need to do going forward.
I just want to jump in real quick, Bob, man, I'm so grateful that you speak your mind.
Right.
Because the comments that you are saying are extremely valid, which is we're going into uncharted territory we've never been before. So there may be a giant pile of money, there may be risk if the short-term rentals keep going down, and it's just something, and I think you being cautious in this scenario, I think is such an asset for the community. So first of all, I just want to thank you for saying that. Karen, your comments are fantastic as well. I think the budgets were different last year with a different person. I think there's new opportunities that can come from this that we never had before, like food deliveries or synergy with the things we have in place. But I would agree with everyone that has spoken so far, including Sam, that's been looking at this, that it is new territory for us. We don't necessarily know what will happen. I think we're trying to figure out numbers so we make sure we don't do a big swing and a miss. And I hear all the things going on. I'm grateful for all these opinions, because I think between the four of you guys, we're gonna get it right. And I think we can get it right. And I'd like proceeding forward, but I do like that, Bobby, you are checking the numbers, being like, are we sure this is the right thing? There's my spidey senses going off that we may need to be careful as we operate through this. We can't afford a miss, I think is what I get. So is that pretty fair, sums it up?
Yeah, I mean, that's the summary of it. It's been mentioned, Greg, I'm not talking Greg myself. Greg and that staffing has nothing to do with me. My only thing is the budget. I want to see the numbers because I want to see what we currently have and what we're looking at for labor. If they come in and say we want to do $15,000 on labor, so be it. Like what they said, we know what we're looking at. By then, you own the business, I own the business.
Yeah.
We can't go to our client and say, we're gonna come staff your profits and we'll send you a bill.
Yeah.
I want to know 3 months of asking for this number.
Yeah.
I don't think I should have to wait 3 months to get a basic staffing budget.
Well, and between, I don't know who you've been asking for that over 3 months, because you and I have only spoken about that over the recent few weeks, so I'm not sure. We had that as a Diane conversation.
I asked Greg for it, I did email you at one point, said that they're working on it, Greg was working on it. You said Sandra was working on it, I believe.
Right, but again, that just the past,
It's from August that we voted on this, so.
right,
3 months.
in terms of the staffing portion, you and I have only been discussing that for the past few weeks, and again, unfortunately, Greg had lost his immediate family, and he's been doing that inside the company, so I'm working to get that as much as I can. Again, we're your partners on this, we're not, you know, in terms of earning or whatever we're making on that, we're your partners to the extent that whatever flags you guys decide to put on media reports, and you say, you know, we don't want, you know, labor to exceed 30%, and every single month you're getting a report, and it has to match whatever flags you put on it, we're going to adhere to, because again, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a contract that can be taken. So ultimately, our instance has to say, okay, number one, the assistant manager getting the job done, that the CDD is having. If not, you know, this is on us to find somebody who will. And then on top of that, the board's decision is then, well, given those changes, did Artemis do enough? Have you done anything that you feel like you'd rather go back to a more traditional setting? So again, to have that time and opportunity to get in there and do it, we're never gonna come out of the gate swinging for the fences on staffing. We're always gonna err on the side of caution. Hopefully what we've done from Amenity in terms of really cutting that staffing and saying, hey, we're gonna, you know, as much with those people as we can, we're gonna pull in kind of the temporary staff and try to lean heavy on that during these kind of leaner times. That's exactly what my expectation is for that side.
No, Joe, it's very simple, you know, whatever the plan is, please, like, I think we discussed about last time on the action plan, you can give us a broad outline. What you guys think as a managers, you are intended to do. It could be from your own staff, like, you know, to give us some kind of idea. So this way it's easier for all the board members to take a look at it, hey, this is what is fact, this is what you guys are planning to do. It gives us some kind of idea, that's all.
So, as this all started, we Greg was brought on and he was introduced. I assured everybody that I would be having weekly updates and meetings and communications as it relates to the cafe. I know that the cafe committee was put together to work primarily on the licensing piece of that, but Greg and I have met as recently as last Thursday. He shared with me his sales projections, his staffing models, and I had a copy of it. We reviewed it line by line. We went through on his laptop all of the accounts. They're all set up. We have account numbers. We have everything in place to be able to move forward. The overall operation of the cafe, once it transitions, is going to look very different than it does right now, because it is going to be offering food delivery with the work that Sandra is doing to help facilitate that. The hours are not going to close at 5:30 during the weekday. There's going to be events and opportunities and things to draw people here to drive that business. But we can't cut the guy off at the knees before he started. He's very, very well versed in this. He's done this before. He's done startup operations. He's very open to any ideas. So if you have ideas that you think that we need to be able to put out there to drive additional business, we've talked about supporting the gym with, you know, energy drinks and protein bars and shakes. We've talked about, you know, a coffee bar in the morning and pastries for guests so they can come up here and get their continental breakfast until we can get to the point where we can offer table service dining in the future. So the sky is the limit. I mean, if you are truly that experienced in food service and you want to be able to contribute real ideas instead of lots of doubts, then I'm open for it, and we should have those conversations, or you should reach out to Joe and Joe can share that directly with Greg. But it doesn't feel like you want him to succeed, and that is not going to help.
And that's exactly what I said, like, don't personal.
I think it's,
No, no personal, no plan, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
do not go personal.
yeah, I agree on this one, yeah, a little personal. I think,
Do not, please, do not address me. I'm addressing Joe. Joe, listen, How many times you and I spoke, I requested you multiple occasions. We would like to hear from you.
Right.
Am I? You said that like, it's not available. I understand. There is that this family, we need to respect their space. Almost like in 4 different occasions I requested you. Have some kind of an idea to explore. I am coming from a point where I like to know what is the plan of action.
Right.
Just a simple idea. And 4 occasions, even as an university also, except that like, it's not available, he cannot really come, he's away, he's out of the country, that's what he said. We could try and work with what we got.
Right.
I never discounted, have I? Absolutely. I wanted to work within the scope to see where the manager's head is.
Right.
And what he's planning to do. 4 different occasions, it was never had any conversation at all. But I understand he has no constraints at this point in time. That's the reason. Everybody here, have I ever used the word Greg?
Red?
Greg,
no.
in my mouth, never even came. Last conversation, last meeting, this meeting. I just wanted to once again clearly state that I have no problem with anybody to work with, but we cannot be blinded. We need to know what is the action plan. Number one, why we need that? Because this is a new territory. So we all were having some kind of inhibitions, doubts, at the success of this venture, right? We need to know at least 60 days before where we stand in terms of that person. Then by the time on January 1st comes, we already debated about it, have some plans, collaborative plans. That's where I'm coming from, the branch chair. That's what I meant.
I'm doing the same thing about right here, so I'm not sure.
I hear
I'm
everybody.
looking for a budget. That's all I ask.
That's all you're asking, a forecast.
I think that's fair, like within the. scope.
Yes.
We signed the contract, I wanna know what things for staffing. I
You
want
want
to
a
where
forecast.
this is the DS came from with the tactic Greg raising. I can say anything about Greg. He hasn't said anything about Greg. It's not a question about Greg. It's a question about that.
Negative comments that I've heard
Yeah.
about.
There has been negative comments about Greg, because I went to a former employer, and what he's presenting for is BS, and you guys keep.
Let's not get into the detail. All right. So, hey, listen, let's keep it respectful. Let's look at the tangible items.
Keep it legal, because I
Let's-
don't think we have the right.
See, if I can, I need to speak, guys. What I would say is that at this point, we have vetted Greg probably more than the CEO of Artemis. And I don't know the man that well, so I think it's ridiculous that I have to go back and ask this gentleman for his W-2s to prove that he's been at this place, because you spoke to one GM. If you step on my property as a GM and come to me and ask for personal information about a staff member, and I willingly provide it to you, I better go out that door. Okay, it is absolutely unacceptable. I told you when you and I sat down, sir, that we had spoken with the HR department, that we had established that he had been with Castle Group for that period of time. And what happened after that is that you took that information, and rather than going to the district and rather than coming to Artemis, first, you took it to a third party that's outgoing, and that party then came in and started talking about him being a fraud, and started saying that what would happen if that had come to his face and he said, you know what, with everything going on with my dad right now, who at the time was in the process of passing and now has, when he said, I don't want to do this, this is too much, and he had left. And now Artemis is in an even different position. He is back on the 11th. I will ask him, because I hear what you're saying, Samant, you want data, you want that information, I hear you on that. I will ask him to finalize the same information that he has provided today. I'll ask him to finalize that information and get that over to you guys as soon as possible. I understand, and I apologize that we haven't gotten that to you sooner. You know, we want to be, you know, and I understand y'all are as well, we want to be sympathetic to what he was going through, but we also understand that time is of the essence, and we will get that information. Okay?
So we'll be getting the forecast with our Artemis team, tangible, and then we can make our evaluations from there, okay?
Yep.
All right, good stuff.
Okay.
Yep, yeah, before we take a quick recess at noon, District Engineer Greg, I did have your printouts, Greg, and Ford, you have these images here on your table. Greg, feel free to take the floor and review the printouts that you had sent over.
Sure. At the last meeting, the board wanted us to take a look at the Oak Spring Lane roundabout to see if we were able to add some additional parking to that. We did provide an exhibit that shows 9 additional spaces that can be added to that roundabout. We did a quick estimate for this improvement. And we do have to relocate sidewalk, trees. There is some landscape associated with it, some removal and replacement of curb and the asphalt itself. So the construction costs associated with this, what you see here is approximately $70,000. On top of that, you will need to design, permit, and this project through the St. Johns River Water Management District as well as the county. So there would be costs associated with that.
Greg, this is Meredith. Why, you said St. John's Water Management District? Are we?
You sure about that?
No, it is. It is
Southwest.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, Southwest Florida.
Southwest Florida.
Yeah, so we,
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have something with St. John's for some reason. That's great. Thank you.
yeah, so
That's
this is
what it is.
Southwest Florida.
You saw the horror on the face.
When you said St. John's, we've been dealing with St. John's in another district, and I was like, okay, let's buckle up.
Yeah.
I'm giving 35 homes. 35 homes,
Mhm.
we've been working in St. John's last like 7 months.
Yeah,
2, yeah.
we feel that.
Yeah, right.
Not fun. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking at for this exhibit. We did put together a few exhibits related to addition of parking in some other areas of the community. The first exhibit that we have there is an aerial photograph of the Broad Oak Drive, the park on Broad Oak Drive, and there is existing parking in there. And that's kind of what we were looking for when we were looking at additional spaces for parking to be added. The next one shows the Misty Oak Circle. There's a small park there that we think we can possibly add 4 spaces within that circle park. The next one is the Oak Bluff Drive, the park. We feel we can get about 15 spaces in there without touching those 2 large landscape areas. If we wanted to add additional parking and get rid of those landscape areas, we figure we can put another 10 spaces in there for a total of 25 spaces. Then we.
Cost of the district would be for just that one spot with a possible 25 spaces. Just a rough estimate.
So you're in rough estimate numbers, you're probably looking at around $180,000 to $200,000.
Territory there.
For that space.
Cheaper than what we're gonna do the photo, you know.
10.
The one, what we would like to do, or the next steps, or if we wanted to move forward with something like this, I just wanted to go through kind of next steps with the board so we kind of know what we're up against if we do select a couple of these sites to move forward with. What we would do is we would prepare an exhibit kind of like what that first exhibit that I showed you with the actual layout and what we're doing there. And we would submit that to the county and to the Water Management District and have a pre-application meeting with those folks. At that pre-application meeting, they will go through our design and our layouts that we currently have and provide us with any hurdles or issues that we may have to get over to be able to construct these projects permitting wise. And then once we have that, then we can bring that back to to the board with a scope and fee from us to finalize that work that is necessary to get the permits.
And Greg, just, can you confirm for us that the planning and study activity from an engineering perspective for these projects would not exceed $35,000? Because if it does, per statute, we have to bid out engineering services as well.
I think it would be right about there.
Okay.
This would
Depending on the magnitude of how many we do. If we're just doing one site, then it'd be less than that. But if we're doing multiple sites, it could get to be more.
So in the past, hold on a second.
Okay.
In the past, we have looked at putting in parking, and one of the big issues that we have and expenses that we have was the cost of drainage. Because you're removing the grass and the perk from the sand. And I was wondering if that could be mitigated by, instead of actually, asphalting over the entire area, if we could put those pavers that are open that have plantings and sand in between, so that the land would still perk. And we wouldn't have to incur the expensive.
Yeah, the parking grid, which I brought up months ago, and that seems to just have been totally glossed over, and it would still allow things to be green and should be much less expensive than adding parking. But at the same time, I'm confused if we're talking about limiting the number of parking permits per linear foot of the house. Why are we talking about adding 25 spaces here and 12 more here and 5 more here?
Because I think we still need more.
We want
Right now, we have 250 parking spots. We only still have enough if we give each out 3 parking passes.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, please, we own 250 times 140 houses. It's not sufficient at all.
Well, and then I thought that, we were kind of putting a little bit of that onus back on some of the homeowners to extend driveways, which a lot of them have done to be able to accommodate their own gas at their own expense versus putting it back on the district.
And that does make more sense, because it costs maybe $2,500 to have one parking space for a homeowner, whereas it adds $10,000 per space for the community for one space, if the drainage is an issue. If the drainage is not an issue, our doing those open parking things might make more sense too, and it also spreads the cost around.
Totally hypothetical experiment.
That's fine.
I thought if it was an incentive to homeowners to extend their driveway from the district, could we do kind of a rebate thing with them? To split half of it, because it'd be a whole lot less cheaper than paying for parking spots.
That's interesting.
It's something for you to ponder.
That's a question I'd like to have. I think I know the answer. Let me look to see if it would be possible.
I'm not saying pay for it, but split the cost to incentivize homeowners.
Let me see if I can make something like that possible. But I would have to have some time to look into that, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a wonderful.
And Greg, this is Savannah. I have one other question. We've got another district that's looking at installing a parking lot, and the engineer there said something about the installation of the parking lot going through Swift Mud may trigger the new permitting requirements that come into play the end of December. So then they have to go through and bring the district up to the new standards. Would that be something impacted here?
Sorry about that, I was muted. I don't think that that's going to impact this particular project, because we are only adding small portions of hard surface or impervious surface to it. If we were doing a modification to control structures or ponds, or adding a large parking lot, I think that may trigger some new requirements, but with what we're doing here, I don't believe it will.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to check.
Greg, anything else?
I think that's all I've got.
Okay. So we have the information. I will look to the board to continue reviewing these documents that have been presented to you and come up with some suggestions that you would like to proceed forward with. Greg, I know we were working on this off-site parking. Is that still something we're looking at with the shuttle service?
Oh, yeah, that was a great idea that Bobby had to essentially purchase an acre of land in the cow pasture.
Yeah, something like that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know he gave the ideas, right? Yeah, is there anything that we, document through some numbers to it? Like, budget, whatever.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, they have one spot.
Yeah, what's the-
It's a 20
Range per space.
Sure. Greg, can you do me a favor? In the renderings that you sent me, can you just attach an approximate estimate for each of the areas so that Supervisor Mueller and I could look at the budget and see what could be afforded? Please.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Thanks.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for your district engineer before we take a brief recess?
I would just say, Greg, I think at some point, we probably could, the goal would be to do all of these parking spots, like we need more parking. So these are fantastic, they get pricey. We're working on kind of the steps leading up to that, but I would think at some point, and the one that Bobby mentioned with the 25 spots does seem alluring to be like, man, we could instantly have quite a bit more in one quick project, and that would be the one we most likely lead off with.
It's in the spring stuff.
I take that back then.
For Blossom is his springs.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I do think we'll, as closer, and as the cafe ramps up and the thing goes smoothly with that, I think we'll be closer to getting these done and moving forward, so.
Anything else? All right, hearing none, let's take a recess at 11:56 a.m. Everybody on the call, we will be back. All right, we are back at 12:26 PM. Jump into council staff reports.
So we have a couple updates today. First, just want to update everybody on our discussions with bond counsel. We've had quite a few conversations with them over the last couple of months. Still waiting for some questions specifically about the cell tower, but a couple exciting things. First, we mentioned at the last meeting that depending on the type of agreement we have in place with the cafe going forward with Artemis, it would be be what's called a qualified management agreement under the IRS code, which then would remove the cafe from being a private use. So we could expand the operation if we wanted to have the tiki bar, if we wanted to sell sunscreen and those things. We have sent the proposed revisions to Artemis, a couple weeks ago. We're just waiting on their confirmation that they are comfortable with them. If so, we will have that amended agreement, executed. And then when they take over managing the cafe, it will no longer be private use and we will lose some of those restrictions, which I know is something that everyone is going to be happy about. We briefly talked about this earlier, but the capacity to issue, we do have, if a project comes up that would require us to issue a new series of bonds, we have plenty of capacity of both taxable and tax exempt bonds. Another question that we were researching is, what are our outstanding bonds? Could we refinance some of these to be taxable so that we can hardscape the community? It's a loaded question. It's basically the answer to that one. There is one series of bonds that is currently outstanding and does not have an optional call. So we aren't able to refinance them right now without an exorbitant cost until 2031. And once 2031 comes, we could refinance them to be taxable. And then we could hardscape the community and taxable.
We wanted to make sure we answered the question, so that's why we're answering.
Yeah, being very thorough. But to do it before that call date, it would just be incredibly expensive for the district and very complicated. Our final question that we are still working on is the cell tower. So Meredith and I have another call scheduled on Monday with them. They've had to go through all of our outstanding issues to determine what infrastructure was funded with what, specifically as it deals with that site. I am hoping that we will have an answer next week on if we're able to proceed. Remember that at that meeting in September, the cell tower was approved with the documents in substantial form. So once we get the go ahead or no go from bond counsel, we can go ahead, get the agreement executed and negotiated in a form that's acceptable to the district.
Okay, so we're still talking about the piece behind the 7-Eleven, correct? That's that location.
We have,
Correct.
Okay, she pointed that way, but it's up there, so I just want to make sure.
Yes, that is.
directionally a little confusing. People, not necessarily directions people. But we have just one more thing to confirm with bond counsel on that, but like Savannah said, once we get the okay from them, the board has already authorized us to proceed with finalizing that agreement, so nothing will be held up in terms of that into your December meeting, we'll be able to proceed, or if bond counsel says it's a no for bond reasons, we'll let you all know in advance of the December meeting, so it's not a surprise.
But we're hoping to get that wrapped up in the next week or so. And we will keep you all updated. Otherwise, happy to answer any questions that you all have, unless you don't have it.
One question, plan the refinancing, which is 2031, of course, it's a, that has its own problems, but you mentioned something about the bond before that. What was that? Can you elaborate on that?
The amount of capacity remaining,
Right.
approximately 1.9 million.
For funding.
So if we did the parking garage or something of that nature, we can issue a new series of bonds. And you have capacity in both your taxable bonds and tax exempt. So you could issue taxable bonds so that they wouldn't be impacted if at some point in time we want to hardscape the community.
So let's say we took $500,000. What would be the, you say we can't? I think-
You would have to issue a new series of bonds. You
Okay.
can't just take.
Oh, no, that's fine. So let's say we issue a new bond for $500,000. What would be the impact on current CDD fees?
That amount distributed by all of the revenues.
It depends on the interest rates that you get,
Yeah.
and
And that's over 30 years?
Your tax exempt bonds are 30-year bonds.
It'll be a fixed rate, but the cost will be also subject to the interest rates.
Okay, yeah. So,
And just mind you, Supervisor Nealon and I are actually working on reducing the budget because the costs are high, so, you know, theoretically, if you were to assess your homeowners an additional 500,000,
yeah.
it's a good chunk of change.
Just thinking about the long term, we keep talking about the guard gate. The guard gate seems to be the main fault of this whole community.
Yeah.
So moving into the next street is gonna help, it's not gonna fix it. Because I mean, I've been to Windsor Island, I've been to a couple other places. They have traffic out the street on Thursdays and Fridays, just like.
They are.
So, I
Champagne's
mean,
getting fell back.
moving it in is definitely gonna give us a few, and we can make it a little bit wider, I believe. And then we could get that overhang. So I mean, if we're gonna ever invest something, I think taking that bond, looking into that part, to move that down, I think would be a viable option if we have it available. That comes out to about $545 per house.
well, that
Out
is
of 500,000, that's without the interest rate.
without the,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So if the cafe does actually make money and we have other forms of income coming in, then that should kind of negate that part of that increase.
Well, and then the question is, there, you do, and we're gonna get into the numbers, but you do have a surplus that you're carrying over year. So did you just save surplus for 3 years and then move to guardhouse? In addition to the F&B revenue that is, you know, still a potential
It's potential.
contribution?
My concern would be the 3 years. So most of the negative reviews that we're getting are the front end.
Sure.
And it's not the staff that we have there. It's not anything that we can actually go and do about it. It's people coming in that are aggravated that they have to sit there for 10, 15 minutes. Or that they have to be sitting out in the street, which is dangerous. And I mean, you have cars flying by, police shooting the horn. It's a whole fiasco up there on Fridays. I'm there every Friday. It's a disaster.
Unfortunately, that's, doesn't matter how much money we throw at it, it's always gonna be the case.
No,
The only thing, you know, is that at least they'll be on property, at least 10 cars deep anyway. They'll be on property instead of having their, pardon my French, having their asses hanging out on Pine Tree Trail.
Not
So-
next year, I think, to have stage.
So hypothetically, the $500,000 number is just thrown out and it comes out to like $420 a house. The HOA has the ability to do a special assessment like we did for the sod and the landscaping. Could the CDD do special assessment where each house could be assessed $420 and we just.
You could add
And
it
it
to
was
our fiscal year, you could add that to like fiscal year 27's budget
Interest.
as a specific line item for a specific, discrete project.
Okay,
You could do that.
without.
No,
And it would just be a one-time.
So that it was one-time flat $420 instead of adding it to a bond and paying interest?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, I'd like to entertain that and kind of work with district council and district management to kind of get that plane rolling so that we can look at having that chart 27 assessment. And hopefully by then we have some extra revenue coming in, hopefully rentals are back, we're busy, we're booming here and we can make Solterra a better place with that and that actually get the end of most of our terms.
Yeah,
We've been in a good place.
let's get into that in my section of the budgets. Yeah.
I think a one-time special project would be better received than we're just gonna add it to a new bond and just.
And we can do, we can have bond council kind of do their analysis of what the annual cost would be, so you could have the side-by-side comparison, for the board to evaluate
Okay.
all of the options.
But I thought, well, HOA could do that, can we do that?
Add it to the O&M budget as a district one-time cost. A district that had to redo a pros once, and it was a $280,000 project. They put it in one time. They took it out the next year.
Yeah, that was.
I have some ideas on this. I won't get too much into the weeds because we're gonna discuss this,
Okay.
but she has two more things.
So one quick question, as you brought up. The surplus, is that money you being interest rate at this point in time?
I don't know if I don't know if your accounts sit on a, cash sweep account. Typically they do. And typically to answer your question, you do have the option to put X amount of funds into, these investments, portfolios, and they would yield. I have districts that yield $30,000 surplus.
Yeah, that's right. At least like some of the banks are doing 2.99%, that's the minimum level. So if the surplus can sit there, at least like maybe it's going to give you some money to the one.
So real quick,
The budget that was in the agenda, I thought that I saw that we were getting interest payments. So,
I'm gonna verify that. So to answer your question, I'm gonna put a note to myself. I'm gonna follow up with the financial team and see where our accounts currently are invested, and then give you an option so we can present to the board if you would like to move X amount of funds into, which bank that's gonna yield good interest. Okay.
And Meredith, one question regarding the bonds, right? We are not still at the tax district position, right? Because at a Tallahassee level, they're planning to impose some restrictions in the upcoming session. If any of any district becomes a tax bond situation, they're going to put some extra restrictions. That's going to add cost to the CDD in terms of the audits, periodic audits and some of the aspects they're bringing. Still, it's a debate stage. The committee already approved 2 proposals, and it might go for the full voting, I think, in upcoming December, January session.
Yep, and I'm actually tracking session for our firm, so we send newsletters bi-weekly. Right now I'm tracking committee week, so once that hits, we'll analyze the bill and figure out the impacts to special districts specifically, and if it would impact, how it impacts operations going forward, and we'll have it on our list to track throughout session to see if it happens or not.
I have it in the draft, I already have it draft.
Oh, you have a draft?
Yes.
I have to get the draft. You can absolutely, and I have the draft.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Supervisor Nealon for the win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
2 other things, we've been asked about ethics training. You do have ethics training due by the end of the fiscal year. So we can either do that training for you as a virtual workshop, which we're happy to schedule and plan for you all, or there are online resources for you that are free from the state. And we can send those to you as well. So up to the board how you'd like to do that. I know we're coming in on the end of the year and the holiday season, so I do want to make sure that I'm being as timely as possible and getting, any dates that from you all that you may want to do that workshop. If you're unable to attend, we could just pick a day, schedule it, and I can talk to myself on Zoom, record it, and send it to you too. So it's really up to you all how you'd like to do that.
I love recording because I have so many holiday participants.
Right.
Thank you.
yeah, I was just thinking about that yesterday, and unless you say, hey, I need you to do this right now today, that's probably gonna be the best way to get me pinned down, but
Okay.
if I send a recording, I would listen to it too.
Okay, so if the board would prefer, what I can do is just take the time, do a recording one day, take that 4 hours, and then I can send you all that recording, and then you would be on the honor system for you all to
I'll listen to it in my car, I can listen to it.
Okay, I'll take that as an action item for me. I'll try and get that recorded as soon as possible, so that I can get that out to you. I will not be, my second item is I will not be here for your December board meeting. I have a personal appointment that I couldn't schedule for any other day. And so Savannah will be here. But I'll try and make sure you have your training, audio well in advance of that. So if you have questions about it, you can certainly post them to Savannah at that time.
Thank you, Reed. Updates, anything else from council? Good. Okay. All right, let's jump into district manager. So you do have your quarterly website audits, that is ADA compliance posted there for your review. And then getting into the budget review, so Supervisor Nealon and I will kind of give you an update on what we've been working on to give you an overview. So we started scrubbing our budget against our monthly billing to ensure that, one, all the contracts that we have on file are accurate to what we're being billed. as well as, doing a general scrub, which has been completed of all the outstanding, agreements that we still have to get new service agreements for in this new fiscal year. Being the two primary that we're working on right now, one you're gonna be considering, shortly is the pool services. So your pool services currently are dated to 2019. Bear with me, let me confirm that. Pool service agreements dates back to, I think it's 2020. So we are out of the extension and the maximum capacity renewal of this agreement. To Council's point, technically this agreement is still valid in Florida. So we still have a way to hold our vendor accountable. However, I will state that in your agreement, you have chemicals included for the dollar amount that is in this, and we're not currently getting that. You pay an additional roughly $5,000 a month for chemicals.
Yeah, that's why we're paying this fee full service.
The long and the short, I will tell you, this vendor, when he bidded this out, bid it extremely low. And I will tell you, objectively, there is no way that he could sustain a successful business if he was including chemicals. So take that, you're gonna be considering services, on that in a second.
But my question on that is, bid that with the contract. I would still even authorize the payment for it if it's in this contract. Why are we paying these chemicals?
Great question. So here's the reality. What can we do, right? At the end of the day, if the vendor's not willing to honor the terms of the agreement, you have to terminate them and get into the new agreement, which is what we're doing. So, no, but it's valid questions. It's valid questions. And then and then the landscape is also out of compliance. It dates back to 2019 and has exceeded its 3-time threshold to renew. So I have worked with the landscape team. Supervisor England suggested to get a revised scope of service to what we're currently getting from Yellowstone. So we have that. I'm gonna be sending that to council to put an amended agreement for landscape.
Can we make sure that revised scope has the palm tree injection included too, so we're just speaking about that?
Yes,
So that we don't have to deal with that everything else, please.
I will include that into the amendment.
And you and I have talked about the fact that Yellowstone currently does not have an arborist, so they bid everything out to an arborist. So we might want to consider a landscaping and a separate arborist contract, so that we're not paying the upcharge for Yellowstone to bring them to us.
Correct.
Or find a vendor that can do both, either one.
Well, no, so typically pruning, annual pruning, you typically will bid that service out because it's such a large sum. And you're gonna bid it to, people that specialize in arbor care, like Enviro, Davy Trees who are in your area, very good companies, very good pricing. So annually, we will exercise the process of getting bids out for our pruning. What is gonna be in your amended contract is just the mowing, the scheduled mowing, the weed control, irrigation repairs, not in the scope, because you want to be able to pay as you go. Because the reality, if you allocated a cost, maybe irrigation breaks don't happen, and now you're just paying for things that, you know what I mean? So we'll set the scope, which leads us to a conversation. So I'm working with Supervisor Nealon and Supervisor Winker on the scope itself. I have good experience in landscape. I can set an appropriate landscape RFP. I am not an expert in landscape. There are experts out there. There are consulting companies that offer a management aspect that would also encompass doing a solicitation for an RFP and setting our scope to ideally what we will forever know the landscape to be in Solterra. So if we do this correct one time, you will now use that blueprint forever. That's what you will bid out.
I think that when we did the district services RFP, there was an option available to include some landscape services through you all to do some of that stuff that we chose not to do, correct?
So yeah, Rosetta has a field service program, and I have another vendor that we work with, very reputable in the consulting side. Sunscape. So what we could do, we could get proposals from both and present them at your next board meeting so that you could see what the annual cost would be. And the idea is this, it would be an annual cost. They would come in to get us up to speed on all these areas, set all these things, set our plant list. And then in a year, we reevaluate and maybe we go towards a project by project basis if needed. If we want to save the cost, I can totally take this on. I feel confident with the experience that I have to set an appropriate scope. But again, I need to specify that I'm not a landscape specialist consultant, so I am limited.
Typically, what's that cost to bring in or to entertain those bids from those two companies for a year,
Sure. Great question.
based on your experiences?
So I haven't spoken to Rosetta about this, but I was working with Sunscape. Their estimated number just from reviewing our maintenance map and our contracts is roughly between 18,000 and 20,000. For the year, to be able to provide managerial services on the landscape effort, and what does that look like? So monthly, they will be doing an inspection with your landscapers and your landscape liaison to take a drive around the whole property, notate all the deficiencies. Monthly, the board will review a extensive report of all the deficiencies and the things that need to be curbed. And additionally, into that 18,000 is the one-time fee that would roughly be 6,000 to 8,000 just to manage our RFP. So if you take away the management aspect and just hire them to solicit the bids for us and set our scope, that would be roughly a $6,000 to $8,000 fee in comparison to the 18 to 20 with Sunscape. With Rosetta, you do have the option to do biannual or bi-monthly reports. I would have to verify. I do believe that there is an additional.
Was $1,000 a month, what is the difference? I think it's $12,000 for the year.
It actually comes out to, so the bi-monthly, we're averaging roughly like $4,800 a year. So the only thing, the Rosetta agreements, you would have to do an additional cost to put together the scope. Now, we have a very good landscape liaison or field manager. He's very experienced. I believe he's reputable. I think you should evaluate both.
Okay.
Maybe even having them present. And then make the decision of three options. Either of the companies or Supervisor Nealon and myself, along with Supervisor Winker, will set the scope and bid this out with the help of council to do a formal RFP process and put it in the paper. And then we could reach out to multiple landscapers as well, signing those.
So I guess my question is then to Karen and to Sam, do you two both feel like you're confident to work with Ryan to accomplish this without having to bring in a third party person for upwards of $12,000 to $18,000 for the first year to do this?
Well, I think what you said was, because I had the same question, you spoke about this earlier. And well, on the face of it, it seems like a lot of money. But it's not just for the first year. It's something, it's a blueprint that we can use going forward. And while I'm, I'm a plant botany, hobbyist. I'm a flower child. I grew up barefoot with my fingers in the dirt, climbing trees and eating mangoes off the trees. I don't know, I'm a monkey girl. But the thing is that, I would say that out of respect for the budget that we have for this community and for the community, boy, it sure would be nice. I mean, I'm up there in ChatGPT and get all kinds of advice from them, but I think it would be nice to have a blueprint, a real professional blueprint that we could use to hold every vendor going down the line, hold them all accountable for. And know for a fact, because every time we come here and we say, oh, well, okay, is this gonna work here? Is this gonna work here? And, it's conjecture. I'd rather know.
You're my,
Brian, when we discussed, right? I think it is, in my point of view, it's easy to create a template with what is being done last several years. Because Yellowstone is doing it, we're kind of, approving the budgets every time there is a bill comes, right? So that kind of gives a blueprint for us. I, like, instead of we doing it, like, you guys are spending time on it. I request them what they have done in 2024 and 2025, because the reason why 2024 is, it's a full year, all the seasons are covered. And also like in 2025, to find out any delta variance is there, like what they did in 2024, what they have done so far in 2025. That gives a kind of a initial template for us. And we can use that, or we can make any adjustments if needed. And then use that as a template from CDD point of view to when we go and bid out to say, hey, these are the things that are mandatory. But if you guys believe, you can add a few more things or delete a few more things because one depends on other sometimes, then like that will be a template for us. So we don't blindly depend on outside folks. We already know what we have done, and that is a good comparative model for us.
Yeah,
I guess
and I don't lean either or way. Whatever the board feels that is beneficial, I will be able to work within.
I guess my question to all four of us that are sitting here right now is, are we all currently satisfied with the current state of the CDD landscaping throughout the resort?
So I'm not landscaping king by any chance, so I usually don't talk on this, but I go to a lot of different properties and I kind of see the same deficiencies in a lot of the places I'm going. They're not as high end as some of the places you guys might visit, but most of the properties that I'm going to, they are having landscape issues right now too, and they don't have the permit company we have.
But that's another question that I asked. I asked, are you personally satisfied with the overall landscape aesthetic of the resort?
I'm gonna refer that question to you because I'm not landscaper.
And if I may to just chime in, that's a great point that Supervisor Broussard just brought up. If you compare, I would compare the properties that do have this service versus the ones that don't. If you all go to Town of Kindred in Kissimmee, you will see what a consultant turns that place into in comparison to a was in the general, Westridge, actually Westridge has consultants there. Actually, most of my districts have consultants. Yeah. Well, so
For instance,
to,
no, because I go to a lot of communities, that's my job.
yeah.
And it's from here to Timbuktu, right? Coast to coast, north to south. I see it all. And there's such a difference in landscaping between these communities. And I can promise you that landscaping is the most inexpensive way. It is the most cost-effective way to elevate any community. What the heck is going on? So, okay, somebody's playing cornhole behind us and I keep hearing little bombs going off. To me, it's a no-brainer. I think that we have to do the most responsible thing that we can do to make it look like the absolute best community. It's imperative. And honestly, it doesn't matter whether business is slow or business is strong. It's number one, we're all homeowners here. People look at a property, if you're looking to sell the property, if you're looking to live in your property, if you're looking to rent your property out, how the property looks is everything. And I think that landscaping.
Brian, let's move forward.
Yeah.
For next month.
It's general updates. I'm gonna show you an example of what like the landscaping report would look like. This one specifically is from Rosetta, and then I could bring some examples of the
Let's do that.
Sunscape. Just give you an overview of what kind of the looks like. Bear with me because a while. So in addition to that, while I'm pulling this up, so the budget in itself, Supervisor Nealon and I will undoubtedly be able to reduce costs in the next fiscal year, with the exception if the board would like to opt into some lucrative, projects like, moving the guardhouse, that would limit the reduction. But to the point of the conversation, here's that report, you can just scroll through briefly. There is a surplus that we could tap into, and let's review the financials as you're reviewing those. So reviewing you closed out the year, and this is gonna also come into effect in your, amended budgets that we will be discussing. But if you look at the financials, you were under budget by significant dollar amounts. You closed out the year 883,000 below budgets.
Nice.
That's huge. That's a huge cost savings. That could potentially be the 500,000 that you're looking to assess. So the point being, Supervisor Nealon and I will ensure that in preparation for our proposed budget, we are going to set all the actual costs to each line item that you have, and you're going to be able to see at the end of the year the distinct variances throughout all the line items that you can essentially cost save. This is the landscape report to give you an idea. But you see, they have the detailed deficiencies, they notate to the scope, and, they have the visuals. So it becomes a very productive conversation. When landscape comes up, the field inspection manager will, hey, here are the deficiencies, give us an update on this. They'll explain to you what projects are coming up, what they're doing about the deficiencies, and going from there.
Okay.
But continuing on, to your point, Deb, Supervisor Roman, the budget in itself, there's a couple of things that we're also working on. So with the acquisition of the full responsibilities of the FBB, it is recommended